This is the clearest I've ever seen you. Very clear picture. Good lighting, maybe.
Hmm. Yeah, I got yes.
Oh, okay. Mm.
And so I can now adjust the lighting, so it's perfect.
Yeah, good.
I'm very happy. Good to have a husband who knows how to install.
Yeah. Yeah. So how have you been?
Mm. Yeah, I was looking at Pernille videos on for Feta and also the Three Continents meeting that you have. I wonder why did you stop these meetings? Because it ends on the 4th Feta.
I don't know whether she's done more or not. Maybe she did more without me. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. There are none on the channel, on her channel.
Okay, yeah. She's been really busy up until recently. So I think she's
Mm,
having a bit of a rest at the moment. She might need some recovery time because she had 12 months of going flat out making lots and lots of stuff. So I'm imagining she's
mm.
just recovering now a bit. Yeah. Yeah, if there's been no more, there probably will be. Yeah. So you've been working on the fourth better on desire?
Um, I thought it's yes, but I felt like I should look into it, considering my addictions and well, my avoidant
Mm,
attitude.
mm,
Mhm. But I saw that she's mainly talking about wants as ambitions, like striving for something,
yeah.
wanting to become. And ambition is something that I really dislike.
Mm,
I always dislike. Um, uh, well, if someone has ambition, he wants to become famous or powerful or
yes.
enlightened
Anything
for
like that. Yeah.
for the benefit of all sentient beings, whatever. And well, if someone wants this and it's his life, I'm not telling him what to do.
Of course, of course. But it's obvious that if they have ambitions, then they've still got Feta One issues about self, because ambition rests on somebody wanting something. It rests on the concept of control and choice, all of those things that are tied up with
Mhm.
Feta One stuff. So it's still a case of identification going on. So yeah, and it's a bit the same with Feta Four stuff with desire. Um, Pernilla will even say with Feta 3 stuff, just with rites and rituals, that if anything is done with a purpose in mind, then it can probably be related back to rites and rituals. But of course, it's the same thing. The purpose
Mm.
is always about a self, isn't it? It's always that solidification,
Mm.
or even sometimes it's glorification of self.
Yeah, but for me, it's like when someone tries to steer up my ambition, um, it can even be by praising.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, it's I have this reaction of resistance. It's almost that I will do the opposite.
Yes, yes.
I will lose the game on purpose.
Yeah. So when you see that happening, do you recognize that there's a kind of a statement underneath it all that says, I'm not going to allow you to manipulate me? Because, that's often what is happening, isn't it? It's a manipulation, but that the response of aversion to that again suggests that we need to look at who is doing it. We need to look at the self thing again. I mean, it can be misleading to kind of apply the fetter stuff to all of this, because in reality, all of the fetters relate to fetter one, but they're just different levels or different degrees of intensity, maybe. Um, so what I would suggest that we don't even bother to getting into any of the. I say later. It's not a good way to describe them, but the higher number fetters until we've got rid of the whole idea of a self, and with that control and choice and decisions and all of that stuff that goes with that. Once all that's gone, then the fetters come into play, because what we're still looking at that stuff, but we're looking at much more subtle uh, aspects of that, and usually just slightly hidden bits that we're not showing ourselves, subconscious stuff, maybe you can put it that way. So it's really, uh, but they're all mixed up. So it's not like we have a choice about which ones we look at. We look at what's present, don't we? Yeah. Hi, Maya.
Hello.
So how does it apply in this case in that someone's trying to steer my ambition? It's hmm. Well, I don't know. I don't know how to connect it with self.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay, so remembering it's never about what comes up. It's always about what triggers that. So if what comes up for you is, I will not be manipulated, then what would trigger that for you? Always a good idea to look in the past for answers to this kind of thing. Not that we're looking for answers per se, but we're looking to see more about it. But okay, so and it's a strong I, you can see, no, I will not be what you want me to be. I will not go where you want to push me and pull me and so on. I will not. So you can see that is a defensive response, which indicates that there is a belief that there's something to defend.
Mm.
Now I can see, Vince, can see that what is being defended is an idea. It's not anything actual. There's no physical threat. There's no physical defense. It's the defense of an idea. And we could go as far as to say that idea is of me, of a self here. So if somebody said, you've got purple hair, you would just laugh and go, ridiculous. Of course I don't have purple hair. If somebody says, you're a horse, you just laugh and go, of course not. I know I'm not a horse. But when somebody says something like, you're very good at this and I want you to go in this direction, it's actually the same as them calling you a horse or a pink elephant or something. Right? It's just as ridiculous because they're not talking about you, they're talking about themselves. They're talking about I want. But that's almost irrelevant here. Your response is the key. This is what we need to look at. What is your response about? And so you can imagine yourself as a young person with your hands on your hips, stamping your foot, saying, I will not.
Because for me it is like, you know, like children daring each other.
Yes. Which is a manipulation, isn't it? It's a way of getting something to happen.
It is manipulation, but also they often dare them. The dares are to do stupid things that are not good for me, not good for my,
No,
you know,
often, yeah,
health.
often dangerous things, even jump off the roof or do something stupid. Yes, yeah. And sometimes the dare for other people is a dare for themselves. So they're using that same thing to manipulate themselves. I dare myself to jump off the roof or whatever it is. It's like if they do it, I have to do it. So it's a motivation because there is fear. There is a part of it that says, no, I don't want to do this. So we use a dare to push past the no. So
And
why do you not want to do what when people try to manipulate you? Why do you not want to be manipulated? Sounds like a stupid question, but yeah.
because this part that you should work on your talent, you know, it's like my father has this that now about grandchildren, about my niece and nephew. But when my niece paints a picture, he's all about, oh, it's good, it's it forms her, it's enriches her imagination, and maybe she will be a famous artist, and we have, and I feel it takes out all the joy
Yes, yeah,
from drawing a picture, because I'm not just drawing the picture to draw the picture. Now
yes,
it's
of course. Yeah.
all invested. It's drawing the picture to get somewhere,
Yes, of course. So
and I
this,
hate it so much that I hate ambitions.
yeah. Well, See, everything gets complex, doesn't it? So what we have is your father saying that to your niece. Uh, he wants something that's really not necessarily about her, although that is
No,
that is
of course it is about him and that he
yes,
wanted to be
yes,
a famous singer, but instead he was just an engineer,
yeah,
and
yeah.
he's bitter about it till this day.
Hmm. But you're talking about the effect on your niece, or if it were you, that effect is
Well,
to
it's
yes.
yes, I have no idea what effect it has on my niece.
But you know how you would
For
react. Yes,
it's
yeah.
it's about the effect on me,
Hmm.
what an ambition does to me,
Yes,
that it
yes, exactly.
takes
Yeah.
away the joy.
Okay. Yes, that's right. And of course, there's other things in that are as we look at it closer too. Of course, a lot of the joy was in the act of doing it, not the finished product. And when he's talking like that, he's talking about the finished product. So he's ignoring the joy of creation that went into that, and he's putting all of the emphasis on the finished product and what possible responses might come to that, totally ignoring the personality, because it's what he wants. So if let's say it was you rather than your niece, you would feel robbed. You would feel deprived of the joy of the process of doing it, and you would feel, um, well, manipulated about what might come of it. So it's so
I think it's also like that he never appreciates what is now. He only in what is now he only see hopes and possibilities for the
yes,
future.
right, for for him in the future, even though he's
Yeah,
talking about
yeah.
other people, it's for him. Yeah, yeah, that's right. So part of your reaction about not being manipulated is really about your relationship with him. I don't want you to push me around to try and fit me into this kind of thing. Maybe.
Maybe although he is an example, and
Yes, yes, of course. Yeah.
it happens. It can happen with anyone,
Mm. So
with
maybe what
me.
I'm saying though is maybe you feel if it were you in this hypothetical situation, maybe you would feel used, that he's using you in order to promote some fantasy of his own.
Yes, and more generally, it's about people who intend well, because they think they know what would be good for me,
Yeah. And
and
almost
they say, and therefore you should do this and
yes, yes.
that
Yeah, yeah,
because
yeah.
it will be good for you.
Yeah. So that good intention covers up something, doesn't it? That good intention is like, I'm pointing at you, but I'm really talking about me.
Yes, but they don't know it.
No, of course they don't know it. That's right. Yeah. So which is a really important point for us with you and your dad. When they don't know it, we can't tell them because they're not in a position to hear us if we do say it's about you. Right? so how do we respond? Right. So you respond to your dad with a level of disgust, sometimes you know, criticism, whatever.
Um, I respond in a passive aggressive way. I just
Yeah.
don't do it.
Yeah. 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 And is that a defense on your part to respond to him like that? That is you protecting yourself?
Mm. I feel like it's a vent for my anger.
Mm, okay.
Because the anger arises, but as you said, I can't tell him
Yes. Yeah.
it's
But this,
it's about you.
yes, of course. But that's not the issue here. We accept that we can't help anybody that doesn't want to help, and we can't impose anything on anybody else. But it's about you. So if it's a vent for your anger, then that's what's been triggered in you. Your anger has been triggered in you, and your anger is hiding something. It's covering up something. It's not just anger doesn't exist on its own. Anger always has some pushing behind it. So what is your anger doing? Your anger is keeping a distance between you and him. Your anger is saying, I'm not going to play that game that he's playing, even though he doesn't know it, but your anger is covering up something.
My anger, more generally, anger towards my parents, and I am angry. Still, it triggers. Um, it's like I was born because they wanted to use me. They needed someone to love, a
Yeah.
baby to love.
Okay. That may well be true, but that's an out there story. What's going on
But
for you now? What's inside you now to feel that anger? It's not the result of a logical conclusion, which is what you just told me about. They had you in order to. That's a story. It may be true, but it's a story for you from your perspective. From your perspective, there is something tangible going on inside you that your anger is useful for. So it's not about them. Don't talk about them. Don't talk about why they had you. Don't talk about that stuff. What is it that you're feeling inside you that anger is helpful for? You may not find an answer to it, and so it's not such an issue that you do find an answer, but it's very good that you have the question. What is the advantage of having anger about that? So we don't actually want an answer. What we want is contemplation about it. That's all. Thinking about it. Because what it will take us to is something else to consider. Because anger is the top level. Anger is the outward expression of something. And there's a whole staircase of things underneath anger, perhaps. See, it's easy to say, and it's easy to get sucked into the idea that your anger is about something outside of you, but it's not. The fact that you focus on your father or your parents and then feel the anger, it's easy to think
Oh,
that they're the reason for it, but that's not.
um, because at first I thought uh, it's fine if they want to use me for this game, then I'm fine with it. It's not big deal.
Okay, so
But
then there'd be
but
no anger? Mm.
but my anger shows up to remind me it is a deal.
Yes, that it's not fine. That's right, exactly. Yeah.
You don't see it, Bianca, for uh, for now, but in longer distance, it is a deal.
Mm.
It does something to you.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it is a deal. Of course it is a deal. You don't feel angry unless there is a deal going on. Yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
Yeah. And you recognize, I'm imagining that you recognize that that deal that's going on is in you. A huge step to just accept that there is something, we don't know what it is, but there is something there that is triggered in us when we experience anger or any other intense, unpleasant emotion. They're all built on top of the same kind of thing. So your anger sometimes expresses it as disgust or rejection or whatever, but it's the same kind of thing. It's an expression of something in you that doesn't feel right. Now, we could say, if we were into the non-duality thing, just like the traditional non-dualists, we could say, well, hang on, there's no self there to feel those things, so therefore you shouldn't feel them. And if you buy it, all of a sudden you don't feel it for a short time. It's a short-term fix. It's bypassing, right? So we don't want that because that's fragile. That's going to come back if that's the case. So what we want to do is find what it is sitting on in order to cut the legs out from underneath it. And then if there's something under that, we'll do that too. And by the time there's none of that left, it's not fragile anymore. It's rock solid. This idea that there is nobody there. So the idea that there is no self in there running the show needs to be a side effect. It's not something we need to aim for. It's something we need to discover as we just look at what's really going on. So the idea that there is
Well,
something there is enough.
well, you know that I have a mechanistic view.
Yes.
So for me, it's just mechanism, and anger shows up just like pain in the body shows up.
Well, let's just jump back into that a little bit because that's a good one. A mechanistic view, right? So I will accuse you with a smile of having a convenient mechanistic view somewhere, but not in other places, right? So yes, you do have a mechanistic view, and if
Mhm.
that's the case, what you are is a mechanism, right? You're a biological mechanism that just responds to being poked or whatever, right? So where's the self in that? How are you different to a
No.
robot? That's right, exactly. How are you different to a robot? Right, a robot that's been
Well,
programmed to have a sense input for of five different kinds of sense input, and maybe six if we include thought. Right, so the robot's unlikely to have a thought input, but it'll have all the others because we put sensors on it for tactile and sensors on it for whatever, all of the different senses. So, but you're essentially, that's what you are. You're a biological robot, as we all are.
Still, we don't know how to put consciousness into a robot.
And we don't know how consciousness works in us either, do we? And even if there is,
If we did, we would probably be able to put it into a robot.
absolutely, yeah, it's a really, really interesting one. I'm see, I actually literally think that we're not much different to a robot with artificial intelligence. And I can see that, I can imagine that artificial intelligence can have something that we might call consciousness one day. Maybe not at the moment, but not far off. But do we imagine consciousness as something external or additional to us? Or is it just a story to explain bits that are not very clear or not very predominant in us? So what people call consciousness is they'll say things like it's our ability to be aware that we exist. Well, it's easy to say. You could easily imagine a robot having the ability to think that it exists. It's just programmed into it, right? It's also programmed to have an I because it's programmed to recognize that it is different to or separate from everything in the world out there. It knows to step up and down a step. It knows to avoid an obstacle. It knows because we program it to do that. And so if we program it to see itself for that is my arm and my leg and my body, is that what we call consciousness? I don't know. It gets a bit tricky, doesn't it? But coming back to you, Bianca, that mechanistic biological organism, it's obvious that there is no, you're not, no matter, no surgeon is going to find a self. Nothing can be extracted that we call a self or a soul or energy even. Energy could be perhaps, couldn't be extracted, but it could be measured. That's a different thing. But these other things are just concepts. So can you see how would you imagine that your self is different to a concept? How could you imagine it's more than a concept?
I don't.
No. Yet we have responses in you that suggest that they think that there is something to be defended. Otherwise, why get angry? So you could imagine a robot with your parents, and the robot would say, that's just them. That's just the way they are. And it would not have any emotional response to that at all. It would just be a case of recognizing that they're just as mechanistic as what it is.
Well, because this robot is programmed
It's the
to care
programming, yes.
about its well-being.
Yeah, exactly. And that's it. And it's the programming. That's the big point,
Yes.
isn't it? It's just the programming. Yeah. And yet, in spite of we recognize that it is just the programming, we also have sub-programs that say I'll get angry. I will defend. I will
Well,
resist. Yeah.
yes, yes, it's all programming,
Okay. So
getting angry.
can we find those subprograms and throw them out? They're not valuable. They don't help us.
Says who? Why do you
You-
think they don't help me?
they cause I was going to say they cause suffering, but maybe you don't feel suffering when you feel anger.
No.
Well, all right. Would you say that anger is a waste of energy or a waste of a response? Is it useful to be angry
Yes.
outwardly? Yeah. It's useful for you in that it keeps you away from some deeper pain or suffering. So we don't want to get rid of the anger until we get rid of what it's useful for. Once we get rid of what it's useful for, it's no longer required. So would you imagine that life would be more pleasant for you without that anger?
I don't know.
Hmm. Because you've never experienced life without it, eh?
Well, as I've said, there was a time when I was more willing to let others transgress my boundaries, or
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
more my boundaries were very soft, and
yeah.
I just I went by logic, and it's not a problem. It's nothing. It's not important. It's why not?
Yeah, okay. So
It's
when
like children in kindergarten who wanted me to eat the worst sandwiches with a jam that nobody liked. And
mm,
I thought,
mm,
what's the problem? It doesn't taste good, but it's not harmful.
yeah,
So
yeah,
I can
it
eat it.
doesn't
What's
it
the
doesn't matter.
problem?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but uh, it is harmful in the long run.
Yes, because
That
obviously
I
other things were going on. Yeah.
let others stomp on me,
Yes. Yeah.
and like like they have right. I don't know. It's just it wasn't
Yeah, yeah,
healthy
yeah, I get it.
for
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
So because I had these patterns running, this is why the anger rose up to teach me that there are
Yes.
boundaries. They have no right.
Yes. And to give you the strength and the motivation or whatever it was to establish those boundaries. And now your father only has to appear and you're building walls. You've got those boundaries very strong.
I guess the
So,
anger appears because these walls are still not so strong.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So I get it. So I got a little bit of a jump here, a little bit of excitement came into my something. And what I saw was that what your anger may well be protecting you from is exactly what you mentioned about the kids pushing you around and you being compliant.
Yes, again, it defends me against my own
Yes, soft
allowing.
boundaries. Yes.
Yes, yes, my own
Yep, yep, I get it.
thinking it's not a big deal, it's nothing.
Okay. So if we were to take away the anger, and if we were to go back to that person that allowed themselves to be made fun of, I guess that's what the other kids were doing. They were making fun of you when they were doing that. So they were fulfilling something in themselves, whatever that was. It doesn't really matter, right? But they were using you to fulfill that, whatever it was in them. Do you think that your anger is simply protecting you from that again? It may be. It may be as simple as that. If you lose your anger, is that going to put you back in that situation where you allow that to happen? That doesn't feel quite right, but you get what I mean. Take you back to that person who is picked on, that person who is pushed around for others' petty enjoyment, or whatever they've got going. Your anger is
Yeah,
protecting you from that. Your actual inclination is to say, it doesn't matter. None of this matters. I mean, it's only a sandwich. Why would I not bother, you know? But
yeah,
the
it's they want to humiliate me, but I am above it.
mm,
They
well,
can't
they
move
did
it.
when you ate the
But
sandwich. Yeah,
but it's a delusion that I am above it.
of
It
course it is.
doesn't
Yeah, yeah,
touch
yeah.
me.
Well, in actual fact, you are above it is not the right word, but you are not tied to it. But yeah, for all intention purposes, you are. Um, so there's a reality, there's a deeper reality that it's all totally meaningless, the whole thing. But but the fact is that they made fun of you, and you responded to that. And then as a result of that, you've developed this anger to not allow that to happen again. So if they came and started to make fun of you again, you would respond with anger. You would say, piss off, go away, don't do that. You have a level of strength, you have a boundary establishment that you didn't have back then because of the anger. It serves you well. It's a good tool to have that anger in that way. So what will make it unnecessary to have that tool is to make it unnecessary to defend against that thing. And that thing is now imaginary. That thing that you are a toy for other people's pleasure. Now it's interesting here that your your father is using you like a toy in a way, but he doesn't realize he is. Whereas those other kids did realize, maybe. Yeah, I'm not sure about that. Yeah, they probably didn't. They just know they felt okay or felt good because they could
Well,
laugh.
the difference is my father thinks he's doing it for my
Yes.
benefit, for my good, and the kids not.
Mm, mm, mm.
Well, as I said, maybe the anger will be not necessary when I stop thinking that I'm above this all.
Yes. Yeah. And
Human games of humiliation and
sure. Yeah.
superiority, inferiority. So,
Yeah. And it will be deeper than no longer thinking that you're something, anything above or not. It'll be a recognition that they're ideas that can't touch you. They're just ideas. The recognition that the mechanistic view.
That is so tangled, because this is what started it all. Yes, but it's just the idea that eating the sandwich is humiliating, but it's just an idea. Yeah,
It is.
I was overthinking it in kindergarten.
Yes. So you were right about it just being an idea, but it stopped being an idea, only an idea. It became more than an idea when you realized that they were making fun of you.
No,
No?
you don't understand. I said I knew that they are trying to humiliate me, to make fun of me, but I am above it.
Mm.
I won't feel humiliated. They can do what they want.
Yes. The
But
difference.
I'm not playing this game. I'm
Yes.
not affected at all.
Right.
But I was affected.
Of course. Of course. And
Yeah.
that's because that how you were above it, how you were not affected by it was fake, right? That being above it, right? You didn't realize at the time that it couldn't affect you because there's no one there to be affected by, right? You said it. I won't be affected because I'm above that. So it's the same result, but for different reasons. So if you is so, and I couldn't expect you as a young person to realize that there's no self there. So being above it is probably the only thing that was accessible to you at the time. Right? But at some point, you're no longer above it. That's when your anger became useful because you realized that you were affected by it. So even though you said I'm above it and I won't be affected by it, you were affected by it, and that's why you enlisted the help of anger to no longer feel that in future. I mean, it's obvious to you, I think, that they were just amusing themselves in a rather cruel way, but they were just amusing themselves. It was all about them for them. They didn't. You were just like, a toy that they picked up to give them amusement with. So as a young person, being above it helped you to not feel the pain. When you realised that you still did feel some pain, then you enlisted anger to help you, and you got locked into that one. That's still there now, that anger.
Yeah, I changed the defense mode.
Yes, yeah, yep, yep.
Because this I'm above it, I'm superior, whatever they do. It was another defense mode.
Yeah, yeah. So how do we move from using any defense mode to realizing that we don't need to defend anything? What are we defending against? Nowadays it's not physical. They're not
Feeling.
asking you to eat that sandwich. Nowadays it's something else, just ideas.
So I was defending against feeling humiliation.
Hmm. Can you see that humiliation is the result of a story you tell yourself? There is no physical component to humiliation outside of you?
Mm. Oh, maybe it's no, it's not really about humiliation.
Isn't it?
It's about lack of connection.
Okay.
The kids in kindergarten didn't want to connect with me.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah,
And
they formed a group,
yes.
humiliating me as I was the outside one.
Yeah, yep. Does your father want to connect with you?
It's I don't want to connect with him.
Around the other way. Yes. Why? I don't expect an answer, but consider what is the you don't want to connect with him because
In children the terms, he's strange.
I missed that. Sorry again.
He's strange.
Strange. Right.
Probably for children in kindergarten, I was strange.
Sure.
I
Yeah.
was
Anybody?
I was the strange one, so I'm the one they don't
Yep.
want to connect with.
Yeah, they're like chickens. The one that's odd will get picked on for sure. Yeah.
Mm.
That's why we're here, isn't it a good thing? You know, because we were odd chickens out all the way. Yeah.
But also that strangeness makes us feel uncomfortable.
Oh, so there's a part of you that wants to be normal.
I just don't want to make others uncomfortable.
Oh, you don't want to make you uncomfortable. Of course, you don't want to make others uncomfortable.
Yes, making others uncomfortable is uncomfortable for me.
Hmm. Hmm. But you failed at being normal, just like I did. I tried very hard for a couple of years to be normal, and I just failed. I couldn't do it. You failed to be normal. So here we are, a bunch of weirdos. What are your thoughts, Maya?
At the moment that we all have the same problem. And it reminds me being different in kindergarten, school, elementary, middle school, always different, always out, always not connected.
Mm, mm.
Middle school picked on up to physical assaults of some
Yeah,
sort.
yeah, it often turns physical, doesn't it?
Yeah. In sports classes, for example.
Oh, I
More
hated
violence
sports.
than
Yeah, yeah.
me too.
They were all violent. Every sport was
Yeah.
designed to hurt me. Yeah.
Yes. The dodgeball. It's something that shouldn't exist.
Mm.
It's really physically and psychologically designed to
Yeah.
to attack. And those picking children into groups, you know, two groups, and then one, the best one, the popular one, picks children who will play with him. Pick
Yep,
me,
yep,
pick
yep,
me, I'm
yeah,
not connected.
yeah.
Oh.
I was always the last one to be chosen.
Yeah.
I see games like football as just being like the Roman gladiators. They're out there for the amusement of everybody else, and their aim is to kill. Yeah. But you know what? I also see almost all of those games are a version of war.
Yes, even the language is the same language. It's the attack, it's to shoot, it's to conquer,
Yes.
it's
Yeah,
to
yeah, 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 yeah,
it could be a game. It could be just a game to play, to
yeah.
it should be a game, but it's not.
And there was no room back then to do what we do now. There was no room to withdraw from that without being seen as strange or inept or something, you know, some negative thing that would be, some label would be put on us because we weren't good at that and we didn't want to do it and so on. So we were trapped. We were in the middle of the gladiatorial ring without choice. We couldn't leave it. We just had to suffer it, and we did. Yeah. Most of us survived in some way or another by developing a whole lot of behaviours for avoidance, but nevertheless, yeah. And some didn't survive it, and they ended up having breakdowns and whatever, or they became, who knows, maybe that's ADHD stuff, or well, I don't know. Yeah, but tricky one. But now we have the opportunity to see the reality of a lot of that stuff. So now we have an adult perspective that we didn't have then. And now we have the choice to not play the game, seemingly. But that's so, yeah. So when Bianca, correct me if I'm right, if I'm wrong here, especially Bianca, but when Bianca still feels the encroachment of humiliation, and then anger comes up in order to avoid that. What is that humiliation based on? It's got to be based on the way we see ourselves, hasn't it? Is that too big a step? And is it the same thing to say the way we see ourselves and the way we see a self? Is it the same thing?
Uh, the way we see self and what?
If we say the way we see ourself and the way we see a self. See, one tends to be a little bit more objective, but I'm asking you, are they the same thing? Us self and ourself. So from a mechanistic point of view, it would be a self. From a human point of view, it becomes our self. Our self implies ownership. That's identification. And that's what we're all about here. That identification is where all the suffering comes from. Again, answers are not necessary, just contemplation is what we're after. You are, from a practical point of view, from my perspective, you are a person, I think. You are a person that I have certain feelings about, whatever they are. So what you are is an experience here for me. And I'm glad you're here. I feel good about you. I can't see any reason from a mechanistic point of view as to why you would ever feel humiliation. It's not logical. There is no such thing as humiliation. We can't pour a bottle of it into you anywhere. You can't drink it. We could cut you into 1,000 pieces and we're not going to find humiliation. It doesn't exist in any physical way. Yet it describes something you feel. Yeah.
That we are programmed to seek connection with
Yes.
other humans. And when they chose me to be humiliated, it was cutting
Yes.
the connections.
It was depriving you of something
It was a sign. You are not connected to us. You are not part of the group.
Okay, so I'm not, see, this is tricky because the argument I would use about humiliation doesn't work for connection. Right? So connection, again, is not something you can find. It's not something you can bottle. Doesn't exist physically, does it? It is a response to something. So that connection is a response to something, just as that humiliation is a response to something. Now, what is that something? Is it actual, or is it also something that isn't tangible? Do I feel a connection to you? I do. We're talking at a really intimate level here, and as a result, I feel a connection. But that connection isn't physical. The response is physical, but the connection itself is not physical.
Even if it is just a feeling, it is a feeling that we need
Yes,
for our mental well-being.
yes. And that feeling is tangible. Even though we can't find it to bottle it, it is a tangible thing. It is our experience. That feeling, whatever the actuality of the feeling is, it's a lovely expansion of the chest or whatever the sensations might be that are associated with that. But that is a tangible thing. But that feeling comes from ideas. It's a thought-provoked feeling, even if the thought is not tangible. Just as the humiliation is a thought-provoked feeling, even if the thought is not tangible. It's all based on those thoughts, and those thoughts that lead us to those things. We don't want one, but we do want the other.
Is it only thoughts?
Sorry?
I wonder, is it only thoughts? You know how you sometimes do this exercise that laugh? We laugh, and laughter makes changes in our body, and some hormones get released.
Yep. And same with these other things, yes. Yeah,
same
for
with
sure.
connection, hug
Yes.
with someone,
Yes, yep.
and
the same with
hormones
humiliation.
are released. You don't need any ideas.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like animals cuddling together.
Yep.
They don't need ideas for this feeling to arise.
Yes. A bit tricky when we start talking about animals, but certainly my dog loves to push up against me, to be touching me. Yeah. And we can imagine that they don't have thoughts. They just do it. Is that the case, you think, for us? I'll be probably about another hour or so.
That's fine. I just have to do before tomorrow at some stage.
Sure. Yeah, no worries. Okay. Mm.
Yes,
Mm.
we need physical touch.
Yes. So if we equate humiliation with connection, they have so many similarities, don't they? But we don't want one and we do want the other. So is the difference that one is pleasant and one is unpleasant? Is that where the dividing line is? Or is it something more tangible than that? Does that bring us to the point where we say the one that is unpleasant is, let's call it suffering, and say that's what this is all about? Let's avoid the suffering and let's invite the good stuff, the pleasant ones, the connection.
I've lost you.
Mm. Well, that was bringing us.
Invite? How can we invite something when it's not there?
I was meaning that one is good and one is not good. So we're willing to accept the good one if it happens, and we don't want the bad one if it happens. Which occurs to me that then it's about our response to those responses. We're responding to a response. And so if connection happens, our response to that is pleasant or more. If humiliation threatens us, our response to that is unpleasant. So is this whole thing about looking for good responses and looking to avoid or not have unpleasant responses?
For me, it's like looking for food.
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 Yeah. So if you find food that
Connection is like food.
good food you like, not food you don't like.
Food. Just food.
Any food.
Any
Okay.
food.
Okay. Yeah.
You know, it's like small children will not survive if there is no human contact.
Yes. Yeah.
If they are just fed, kept clean, and so on. And I think it's true not only for small children, but we need it just like physical food.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think it's absolutely necessary.
It's just like, just this mechanism runs on it. It's fuel for this mechanism to run.
So what comes to mind here is that maybe something like humiliation is so painful because it's a deprivation of something that we need. It's not that it in itself, but it's that frustration of something inherent that we need. Can you see that an anger response to somebody says very clearly, I'm not going to have connection?
There's no food here to look for.
Yes.
No point. I'm
Yep.
going somewhere else to look for food.
So to just stretch this analogy a bit further, having anger towards somebody might be like banging on the door to the kitchen saying, I don't expect there to be any food in there, but never finding out if there is any because all you do is pound on the door and you never open the door. Do you think anger can deprive you of what it is you need or want because it preempts the possibility of it existing?
Well, you know, sometimes if I don't find this food here, it will requires less energy than trying to look and look and look, and maybe there is some food here, and maybe it's
Okay.
easier. Just leave this stupid kitchen and go to groceries.
Yeah.
It's to conserve energy. It's simple program.
Mm. I see it a lot like believing there's nothing behind the door, and so consequently just not even trying to open it. And you go from kitchen to kitchen to kitchen and never open the door, so you'd never know really if there's anything in there, but you presume there's nothing in there, so you don't try and open the door, which kind of dooms you to being
Obviously,
hungry. Yeah.
I have found some open kitchens because
Yes.
I've
Yeah.
survived.
Yeah. Of course. Yeah. Is that deep furrow in your brow, Stelios, because you're confused?
Sorry,
You've got
Vince, repeat me.
you've got a very strong furrow in your brow there between
Ah,
your yeah.
because I was trying to understand
Okay. Yeah.
what Bianca was talking about.
Yeah. I'd much rather her tell you that than me to try and tell you that, just because I might I might get it wrong. Not that that's an
I
issue, but
think
yeah.
I think I get it in the end.
Mm.
So you started the meeting 20 minutes ago, right?
1 hour and 20 minutes ago.
What is going on? I keep converting the time and it's always wrong. In your time, it started
4 p.m.
4,
Mm.
and I converted it, and it told me that it's 8 for Athens.
So you're in Central European time?
Yeah.
Is it Central European time? I guess it's like 1 hour later, right? In Athens.
I think so. Yeah, it's not central, it's Athens and Istanbul. So to that zone, but I have the converter that you have in your site.
Yeah, so Central European time puts it at 6 a.m. when I started. So
But 6 a.m. it's about 2 hours and a half ago, and you told me you started 1 hour ago, right?
now 1 hour and 20 minutes ago.
Okay, so it's in my time it's 7, not 8. I'll note it down now, and it will be okay.
Mm.
So the only time you change
I
is Saturday, right?
I just put Athens in time converter, this link that you gave us, and it shows right time.
It shows.
It shows that 4 p.m. at Canberra is 7 a.m. in Athens.
Okay,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
I
So
think
mine said 6, but why is that? Because it's not Central European time? Is it
Yes, in Warsaw it's 6 a.m.
right? But in Athens, it's not. Yes, it says 7 a.m. in Athens, my converter. Yes.
yeah,
Mm. So Athens is not Central European time, it's an hour out.
yeah. Uh, Again, in mind converting is wrong. It's about 8 in Athens, but in Australia I have AEST. Is this your time zone?
Yes, Australian Eastern Standard Time.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
For me, when yours is 4, for me it shows here 8.
Oh, okay. Somewhere daylight saving is not working or something for that hour,
Yeah.
I guess. So we're in
So this is
we're in summertime now. Okay.
yeah, because
Okay,
we
yes.
also convert.
Yeah, it's AEDT now, not AEST. It's
Okay,
Australian Eastern Daylight Time now. Okay, that would make the
okay.
difference. Yeah. So why does my thing still say AEST? I don't know that. Yeah.
Now it works fine. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
right.
Okay.
So, yeah, just put Sydney or Canberra. That's a better way, and rather than worry about summertime, or it'll do it automatically then. Yeah.
Okay, but now I know it's not
Mhm.
the previous one. It will work out fine.
Yeah. But it's fine to get here late. That's no worries. Yeah.
It is, but I always think I'm on time and I'm 1 or 2 hours later. So do you remember how many times I'm here and you say, okay, we're here 2 hours ago?
Mm. Oh, yeah, it's been a big problem, this time zone thing. You know, we went into summertime and everybody else went into standard time, and they do it
Yeah.
at different times. You know, Europe and America are a couple of weeks apart when they do it. It's all so tricky. Yeah.
So as regards me, Vince, the last days or weeks, I'm in a state of no motivation.
Hmm.
It's like everything. That all the things that I used to try, they don't seem to have any point anymore. But this comes back to, survival habits as to work and take a project and motivate myself to find a project. And it's really no motivation, no inspiration. And I say, okay, we'll go by, but at the same time, you have to make something to earn some money.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. So what we have when we say we have no motivation, it's obvious that there is a story there that says this is wrong. We should be
Yeah,
something, and we can come to a very logical thing that says, yeah, we've got to make money in order to live and so on. So we can justify that story, and it makes it sound very real and very good. What
I know it's
if,
a story.
yep. So what if the project is for you to keep breathing, keep eating, keep shitting, doing what people do, and
Yeah. I sometimes think that this thing we're doing here is very hard on society
yes,
because if we're living in the
absolutely.
jungle or in nature, it will be just fine. And I think that's why we have so many concerns in our time. 100 years ago, it will be to prepare something to eat, to go feed the animals, to make some wood,
Yes,
and your day will have simple purpose that will be filled. You will be feeling.
yes, yeah. So go back 200 years or 300 years, and time did not exist. It was daylight or it was dark.
Daylight, exactly.
Yeah.
It was
And
time to eat
people,
because,
yes,
yeah,
and people didn't sleep for 8 hours in a row back then. They'd sleep for 4 hours, wake up and get up and do something for an hour or two, and then go back to bed.
yeah,
So there wasn't the Industrial Revolution invented the clock and what we know
yeah.
as time.
And they slept cuddled,
Yes. Yeah.
whole family in one bed.
Yeah. Lots of connection. Yeah.
Yeah, because I get what you say. I can see it's just a story, and the logical part says that okay, now maybe it's time to relax or no purpose at it. It is what it is. But then after some days, another thought says, okay, but you have to take a
Yes.
project to make some
Yeah.
money, and I know this is bullshit, but it's the time we're living in.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
the industrial.
What if the state that you call no motivation, what if that experience was actually achieving something positive in that whole lot of processes go on in the body and in the mind
Yeah,
with that
pro-
state, until
probably.
we start fighting with it and we say, oh, it shouldn't be that way, but then something else comes up. So what if it's actually not just a lack of something, like a lack of motivation? What if it's actually expressing something positive? What if it's saying, um, that to force yourself to do something because you think you should is actually harmful. See, it's like boredom. Boredom's a really interesting one. Boredom on the surface looks like, okay, I've got nothing to do and I want something to do. I want to be excited or I want to be motivated. But I'm not. So therefore I'm bored. And so boredom feels like it's a lack of something. But in fact, boredom is a very, very energy intensive state of avoidance. So what if this lack of motivation is a way of avoiding something? Now, don't look for what. Don't. That's a trap to go looking for what.
Yeah.
It's a case of just going maybe, just maybe, and that's an invitation for something to show itself if it feels like it, if it wants to. So what I'm saying is lack of motivation is not a lack. It's actually an active something that's going on. Why would you not feel excited about creating something? That changes
Can
the
you repeat this?
perspective, doesn't it? Sorry?
Can you repeat this?
Yes. Why would you not feel excited about creating something?
But I don't create anything now.
Well, when you work, you're creating. When
Yeah.
you are motivated for anything, you are creating. So it's almost illogical that you don't feel excitement about some kind of creation because nothing's coming to mind to be creative with or about. But why not? Is it because something is being suppressed or denied? Maybe. I don't know. And I'm not saying it is. I don't know.
Yeah.
It just occurs to me that lack of motivation is not a lack. The term makes it seem like it's something is missing, and that thing we call motivation. But what motivation is excitement about doing something, isn't it?
Or an
Like,
idea that I should. Yeah, it's exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
an idea that you feel good about. Yes, yeah. So
Yeah.
to do something, I'm going to go and do this. I'm going to make some. I mean,
So now let's say there is no excitement
yes, that's right. There's just
about
no
anything.
excitement. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's a flat period about everything is flat, not only about the project,
Hmm,
but everything is flat. It's
yeah. So why is that? Well, so let's say again, let's not say it's lack of something. Let's say it's an active something. It could be an energy saving device.
yeah.
Uh,
I have thought about it that maybe this is a time to just relax and do nothing and enjoy this. And when it's about to come something, it will come.
it will
It's
come.
not in
Yeah,
my
yeah,
hand anyway, yeah.
mm, yeah.
But you are in this kind of attitude.
Yes.
My name is Jane. I'm a ward doctor.
Hmm.
I just want to know, would your medications have changed at all from when you were here in hospital last time?
No.
No, they're the same.
So I won't take the metformin in the morning. That's
Sure.
what you say. Yes. Okay.
Chart the other ones. I just
All
wanted to
right.
be
Yeah.
clear.
No, they're the same. Thanks.
Thank
Mm. Sorry about that. I'm in
No, no
hospital at the
problem.
moment.
You are
Yeah.
in
So
hospital.
they keep on coming in wanting to do an EEG and stuff. Yeah. So it's kind of
Yeah,
easy for you to accept that if something comes along and excites you, you'll get into it. But it's kind of the opposite if the fact that nothing is there at the moment, so you feel like there's something wrong.
yeah. Sometimes it feels like wrong because, okay, there is nothing, and you keep stay in this relaxing mode, observating what is going on. But after some time, this observating mode becomes very suppressive.
Mm,
It's
mm.
only there is the only thing that is going on that sometimes it's overwhelming, and it's like, okay, I observe, but I want to
Yeah,
leave something also.
yeah, sure. Yeah, I get it. Yep, yep, yep. Can you make yourself motivated? Is it possible to force yourself into a motivated state?
I don't like it to
No, it's
force
not.
myself to do.
Yeah, yeah, it has a whole lot of horrible, unpleasantness about it
Yeah,
to
it's
do that.
more
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
unpleasant. If I force
yeah.
myself, it's even worse.
And if your bank account gets to the state where it forces you to go looking for some way to earn money, that can be the same. It's a horrible state,
Yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah,
not something we want. Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So are we totally focused on this lack of motivation to the point where we miss seeing opportunities? Are we relaxed enough to have a wide perspective and notice opportunities that might turn up, maybe not so directly, but on the peripheral?
Yeah. But when it takes some time, because this is over a month, you
Yeah, yeah,
say,
sure. Yeah. And
okay,
it can be a test like that, can't it? Yeah.
yeah. And
So
the thing is
over
that
a month.
my work has to do about creative stuff, and I have all the time now to even think something creative, but there is no creativity in my mind. It's all flat. It's no ideas. It's no. So this confuses me the most because
Mm.
I have all the free time now to be creative about a project that will come, but
It's not happening. Yeah. Yeah.
not happening.
Mm. So what is your work? What is your creative work?
I'm in filmmaking, video editing, stuff like this.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So would you normally seek out work, or would it come to you?
Most of the times it comes to me.
Right. And at
But
the moment,
when
it's not happening.
no, and that's no problem. But I would like in this free time to explore projects for myself because when I work for others, I don't have the time. And now that I have the time, there is no opportunity on this,
Okay. Yeah. I get
that,
that. Right. 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 Now, so the first thing that comes to mind for me is what's going on that you deprive yourself of this. You have this opportunity to do something for yourself creatively, and you're not.
yeah. The first scenario that comes to my mind all this time is that maybe I'm not interested in this anymore. I don't know.
Hmm. Could
I
be the
cannot think
case.
anything.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But consider the possibility not that it's just not arising, but that there is some unconscious intentionality in it, that you are on purpose not allowing yourself to get excited about anything because what comes to mind? So I'm not saying it is the case. I'm just wondering, is that a
Yeah,
possibility that this is happening for a specific reason? Now
probably,
again,
but I cannot find the reason. Yeah,
yeah. No, well, we don't need to find the reason. Right? Essentially, we just need to wonder if it's a possibility that that is the case. Yeah.
probably. It could be,
Mm.
yeah.
If that is the case, I would say that there are probably opportunities going past you that you're just ignoring because
Yeah.
you're wanting something that's not there to happen.
Yeah. And now that I'm thinking about, there were some ideas coming up, but in reality, it's very simple. But for me, it seems very overwhelming, and that I'm not good enough to do it. And I think this is not good enough. It's the case to most of the things.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's like I don't believe that
Yes. And you see that as story.
most of the
Yep.
times, but yeah, when it keeps going on, sometimes you get lost into this.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So would it be the case that because it seems that it might take you beyond your ability, that you'd just rather not try, you'd rather not even approach it?
Probably. And is the thing that I really don't like in my way of thinking, but it is what it is, that in order to do something, I want everything to be in the right position, to be exactly as it is, or
yeah.
I don't even try it. And this is very,
Okay.
very shit because you lose the creativity, just do it.
Yes. And obviously that everything needing to be perfect before you do means
Yeah,
that you don't have to do anything because nothing is ever always perfect. So
you're
it's
very, yeah.
a good reason not to do it, not to, yeah. So does this point to a slightly obscure sense of inadequacy?
Yeah, for sure, Vince. And this is the case for all the dig that I have to do in this seeking. It goes down to this
Yeah, I'm not good
not good
enough.
enough.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I
So,
have seen, Vince, I have seen many stories going back even to 4 years old. And I have seen them, but they don't dissolve.
no. Well, the stuff that gets conditioned in you as a 4-year-old, uh, it's not going to dissolve with seeing it simply because the 4-year-old stored it in the body. It wasn't just an intellectual thing,
Yeah.
right? And the consequence is that since 4, there's been evolution, and we got better and better at avoiding this
Yeah.
sense of not good enough. And that evolution, that's not just more sophisticated, but it's more embedded. So have you seen my meditation on that I put up on the YouTube channel?
Yeah. I haven't tried it complete yet, just in the first minutes. I
Yeah.
want to have that proper time and space to do it.
Yeah, sure. Yep. Well, it's the principle of it that's the big thing. And so it just became suddenly very relevant for you when you said that. You already see that this was something that was embedded in you as a 4-year-old, as a young, or somewhere back then, so you can already see that young person, that infant, did not have a perspective to realize that not good enough came from circumstances, from conditions that were existing at the time, whatever they were, whether that was from your parents repeatedly telling you that you had to try harder or whatever it was, that whatever that
Yeah.
was. Right? And so that young Stelios is still in you. He's in there still feeling inadequate, and that's what you're expressing as an adult. But you, as an adult, you can now see the perspective that he couldn't see. And that's what that meditation is about. It's about taking back your adult perspective to him and using emotion. This is a big one, using emotion to help him to understand. And that emotion could be conveyed just by the tone of your voice, in this case, your thought voice. But that tone of voice that will give him a better understanding of what was actually going on then, and with that, a recognition that he wasn't at fault, that it was circumstances that produced this thing. Because kids that age, they accept the blame. They say, "Oh, I'm the reason why this happened."
Yeah.
And so we need to change that, and that's what that meditation's about. Yeah, so it would be very, very relevant for you to do that. Oh boy,
I
I'm
have done
seeing
similar.
it.
Yeah. I have done it in many similar ways. I've never finished your meditation, but I think I've done it to many similar ways and really feeling about these back stories and get the emotion and stay with it, but it doesn't dissolve.
Mm,
I keep catching myself to all this seeking, all these years. The bottom line is this:
mm.
to all my surrounding, all my relationship is always this, that
Yeah, it's amazing how huge it can be. How such a beginning can change everything. Yeah.
yeah. But how can we change this? If you can observe it, if you can be into it and really allow it and spread and but then after a circle it keeps going on to the same
Yes.
starting point.
Okay. So you're. I'm imagining that you're talking to the young Stelios in an intellectual way that he can't understand.
I'm not talking. I just let the feeling be alive in here.
Yeah. So
I don't really, yeah,
yeah, go
continue,
on.
yeah.
So that feeling is the key. That feeling, but you're transmitting to the young Stelios, and all this, of course, is imaginary, but you're transmitting an understanding of the circumstances as well as an acceptance of what he believes to be the case, and without specifying that, we don't need to specify it, just accepting that he has a naive perception of what was going on. You're telling him that it wasn't his fault. He doesn't need to feel guilty or shame about that because it was circumstances. And you're waiting, as you're doing that, you're looking for him accepting what you're transmitting to him. And that acceptance will manifest as a feeling of him merging with you. Right? So the young Stelios will merge with you now. Right? And that's a really key point, that merging. What you're looking. So you're just imagine that you're sitting on a bench next to him, really, really close, to the point where you're actually touching legs as you sit next to him. And he's feeling guilty and shameful and inadequate, and you're expressing to him that this is circumstances, not him. It's got nothing to do with him. It's just circumstances. And when he gets it, and that's the missing point for you so far, he's not getting it. When he gets it, he'll lean into you. He'll start to merge with you. It'll be like you'll cease to become two separate beings and start to become one being. And he will merge into you. And at that point, you will pick him up and carry him from the past back into the present. So you will collapse the time between when you were that age and this age. And as you bring him back into the present, he'll still exist and he'll still feel, how can I put it? I don't know. He'll still be himself, but there'll be a much less strong holding on to guilt and shame and fear and all the things that are all associated with that. So it's not like you're not cutting off from him. You're not turning him into something extraneous and getting rid of him. You're actually incorporating him into yourself. Right? So the young Stelios will still be in you, but he will no longer have that kind of thing. So the way I might explain it, and of course, anyway, the way I might explain it is that young Stelios is back there whenever he was, how many, 20, 30, 40 years ago or something, and he's leaning back with his heels dug in, and he's got this connection between him, what he's holding on to, and your back. So you can't go forward because he's dug in. He's going to stop you from going forward and getting free of this stuff because he's dug in and he's holding on. And the only way you're going to get him forward, because you're not strong enough to pull him out of the heels dug in position that he's in. You've got to go back and you've got to help him relax and feel okay about himself, and then carry him forward into the present. And then he's no longer holding you back. Right? So if we're going to say, if you have trouble going through the meditation because of the length of it, it's like 13 minutes long, but if you go to sleep part the way through, then start halfway through. You don't have to start at the beginning. Yeah.
I think this is the missing key that I never did, because I can easily be an observer of the young Stelios.
Yes, but no connection.
Have the feeling.
Yeah.
But I've never thought about it to merge with him. And how can I carry him in present moment?
Say that again.
How can I carry him in the present moment?
Well, you have to wait till he starts merging
Because
into you. Yeah. Go on, because?
No, I'm asking, how can I make him merge with me?
You can't make him merge with you. You can only invite him to merge with you. But even that's not the case. It will happen as he understands what you're trying to transmit to him, what you're trying to tell him with your emotions, and the emotions are the key. It's not. So you can have the thoughts that, okay, it's circumstances that are doing this to you, but that's just an intellectual thing, right? There's this feeling from the chest that says, I accept that you had this situation. I accept that you believed this was the case, but I'm an adult and I want to give you something that you don't have, which is an understanding of what
Okay.
the real situation was back then. Yeah. Okay. Look, I'm just going to have to plug my phone in. It's going to run out of battery, and I'm using that for the internet at the moment because the internet here in the hospital is shit. So, yeah,
Okay.
there won't be a second.
I want to say something shortly
Yes, please go.
about these kitchen doors. When I'm looking for connection and with food of
Yes. Yeah.
connection and attention, I think in the past I was very much don't take anything that is not offered. If kitchen door is closed,
Yes, don't go there. Yeah.
but then anger rised because I was starving for connection.
Right.
And anger is making me brazen.
Okay.
And
Yes.
this is what I'm doing here in meetings.
Being
I think
brazen.
Stelios is also a bit brazen.
What that means? Sorry, I don't know the word.
Brazen.
Bold.
Yeah.
And a bit arrogant.
Yeah.
Very assertive, you can say. Just because I need attention, I go in, I interrupt someone, I have something to say, I will say it. You know, and Maya is sitting here for 2 hours, not said anything. But Stelios, you came late and you started speaking.
Because in my mind it is that we just started. Yeah, I forgot that you are here 1/2 an hour ago. Sorry.
That's all
Yes,
right.
so anger allows me to be this brazen, to take time. I need food. I'm just forcing kitchen doors open.
And this is why you reacted at one point. Like the question was, is this anger bad or something? Do you want to get rid of the anger? And you said no.
Mm.
Yes, and Ramis and Leonard, you are
Yes,
also
thank you. Thank you.
so humble, so meek. You wouldn't interrupt me, and I have something to say. I need food too.
I think we're just as we need to be.
I can relate to this anger. Recently, I had an issue, a conflict, and my sister was aware of it, and she didn't ask me what's going on. And I contacted her. I was angry, like, why didn't you ask me? That was the first time I do this.
I feel the need to say something.
Yeah, just say. Yeah, don't ever ask. Just go in. Yeah.
When Stelios talked about how he couldn't find motivation to work and everything is flat and everything. On the surface, I have the same problem. I need a new job. And I would like to do many things. It can be anything. I would like it to be creative. I don't want to go to the supermarket to put things on the shelves. Creative, like doing linguistic analysis, crocheting, baking, anything creative. And Stelios said, I remember from when I was 4, but I don't remember from when I was 4. I was a golden child, everything brilliant until 35. And then I had a family. I married, I had a child, and then everything stopped. And this is actually somewhere where I don't want to go, but I'm going there now. I think, I don't know. I'm afraid I'm blaming them for my stopping to be brilliant anymore. And this is hard, and especially my daughter, because it wasn't her choice to be born. It was my choice to have her. And Bianca told about my parents had me because, and we had our daughter because we loved each other and we thought something needs to be born out of this connection, and this connection still exists many, many years after that. So it was the right thing to have a child, but somehow it turned out bad for me. And I remember my first failure. It was a big deal. I had a grant in at an institute in the US and working with a very important guy, and I blew it. And after that, nothing was there anymore. And now when I have the idea to start something, it's the same feeling. I'm overwhelmed. I cannot start if everything's not perfect. So, but I do start. But then I figure out it's overwhelming, it's too much for me, and then I stop. So I have so many projects that I started that I never finished, that I forget about because there are other things I have to do, and then I don't do them anymore, and they are not relevant anymore in a few days. So I have so many false starts and nothing leads to anything anymore. And this is where I'm stuck. And as I said, this is something where I don't want to go to blame my daughter and I'm afraid our connection wasn't good. My connection to her wasn't good. I blame myself for being a bad parent, but I do understand we are all bad parents. I feel somehow in the last years, the connection is somewhat better because I relaxed into it. I'm not expecting anything from her anymore. And she does brilliantly. This was difficult.
Yeah. Does the statement correlation doesn't mean causation have any meaning for you?
Yes, it does. It does. On the other hand, also
Go on.
some other things happened. Her being born meant opening all these problems with my mom.
Yeah,
more.
exactly.
And the opening act of my turbo seeking was something between the three of us. My mom was interfering very, very much with my parenting, and I didn't know how to protect myself and my daughter from her. And this was a moment when I understood this is just an emotion. I don't have to identify with it. This was the moment that was my moment of anger with my mom because she was interfering. So
Yeah.
my daughter was a kind of catalyst for my seeking.
Hmm. Yeah. And
For which
almost,
I adore her. She
yeah.
should have been born for that. I didn't know that at that moment, but now I know, and I'm so grateful for her to be her and to endure all of this.
Mm. Yeah, it's very human of us to, it's almost like we go through life and line up things and say this thing caused that thing just because they happen close together. We
Yeah.
say, yes, that caused that all the time. We do it all the time, so much when it's much more realistic to recognize that things happen in parallel rather than sequentially.
Yeah. And I tie them together in my mind.
Yes, yes, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because in all other aspects, I think I have this family is the perfect thing in my life. Nothing else is. And I'm so grateful. I know other people have problems finding the real partners, and I really had the privilege to have it.
Yeah. You lucked in beautifully, yes. So even though you can recognize at an intellectual level now that what was actual in terms of your daughter and so on, it doesn't matter, but that you were deciphering it as blame and you experienced blame. You actually experienced something that was an actual experience. It was very real, the feeling of blame. And then you felt guilty about blaming. So there's a whole sequence of things that can
Whole sequence, yeah.
hang off that, yeah. And then you go back and you realize that that was crazy. I didn't need to blame. That was
Mm-hmm.
just they just happened to coincide. You can't undo the blame that you had. It's done and finished. But you can recognize that it was as a result of an illusion. It was the reason why you had that very real experience doesn't hold up. So then is there required an undoing? Do we need to forgive ourselves for what happened? Maybe, I don't know.
I think I is with whole this thing with control. We have control on the one side, on the other side we are conditioned.
Mm-hmm.
I'm starting to forgive, and I see I am somehow the first one to be forgiven in my whole setting. I have a little bit harder time to forgive other people, but I'm working on it and it goes okay. But I'm somehow the first one to understand I did only what I was able to do at that moment, at a given moment.
Okay, yeah, that's an interesting one. Usually, and it's never easy, but usually when we recognize that we are um, uh, an evolution from conditions, then we can project that to other people. We can forgive other people for what we used to think that they had control over, and we recognize that no, it's just the way it happened. So we can forgive. So it's interesting that that's not clear for you, that you can see it for yourself, but not for others. Usually other people find it easier to forgive somebody else than to forgive themselves. So you're the other way around to a lot of people in that way. Yeah. But don't you find that interesting? I do. It's really interesting that you haven't extended what you give yourself to other people yet.
No, not yet. Or I have, but in a lesser extent. I need more. I need some more. Or I just forget. I just forget about it, and then sometimes I remind myself of that when thinking about other people, what they have done. But I need to remind myself, and this is logical. This is intellectual.
Yeah. Well, you
I need
can't.
to remind myself for myself also.
Yeah. So
Not
I want to pull you up on this statement of I need to remind myself. You would like it if reminding happened. How can you tell yourself to remind yourself? How can you make that happen? You can't. It'll happen or not.
But it obviously happened. If I remember, it happens.
Right? But where does remembering come from? That's just a thought that arises, isn't it?
Yeah. But it does arise.
It does arise, yes. And the more it arises, the more likely it is to arise.
Mm.
And at some point it becomes unnecessary because it becomes a belief. And then it's automatic. Yeah. So the idea that I need to remind myself still hooks into the illusion of control, that you can do it. Yeah.
This is my this will be my candy.
Yeah.
I can see it. And I think to myself the whole time, I remember Pernilla saying, you cannot think your way to awakening. And I have the feeling that I'm doing just that I'm thinking my way to awakening.
Yeah.
And then I don't believe that it will ever happen, of course, which is a belief. I'm listening to myself.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Well, it's see, if we look, everything deserves looking at closer, and it's really interesting. If you say you can't think your way to awakening, that's not to say that thinking is not involved. Right? What it's to say is that you can't control thinking and arrive at an awakening through the control of thinking or through the idea of control of thinking. In fact, it's likely to stop it from happening, because awakening isn't a thinking thing, but thinking is involved. Awakening is a happy accident, and we just need to put ourselves in the accident zone.
Yeah.
And we do that by coming to these meetings. We do it by meditating. If we do that, we do it by thinking about this stuff. We just put ourselves in the accident zone. Yeah. It's a tricky one.
Yeah.
But, you know, by nature, I don't know whether it's always been the case, but we give ourselves a hard time. We give ourselves the hardest time, harder than we give for other people, always. You know, we're critical of what goes on here, critical of ourselves all the time. And we're helpless. We can't, there's no point in being critical. What happens is what happens. But yet relaxing into that is the hardest thing to do. Well, we can't do it. It'll happen by accident again. Yeah.
I feel more at peace now.
Yeah, that sounds good. Mm.
And it's not that this insight is new. I've had it for, I don't know, a year or two, and then I gathered all my thoughts about it and all my insights, and then I talked with my daughter. I apologized to her. I don't know if she's 18 and she's very childish, if she understood any of it, but I
Mm.
understood.
Mm.
It's why I was a parent that I was. I wasn't the worst of parents, but I was always a
Mm.
mindful parent. But I just didn't know what I was doing. And I think it's much better now. I think it's much better now because I don't think about what I'm doing. I'm just,
You're more authentic.
yes. Yeah.
Mm.
And I don't let myself being influenced by other people, by other parents, by this or that. I let everything go.
Yeah, that's a
When it
big
comes
one.
to care.
Yeah, everybody
Yeah.
wants to tell you how to do it, especially your own parents. Yeah.
Yeah. And I just regret I didn't do it earlier, much earlier. What a parent I would have been if I knew that this at that time.
Yeah.
But okay. It was as it was, it is what it is, and I'm fine with
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Yeah. And you could go one step further. You could recognize that because it was the way it was, that's what led to this now. It
Mm,
was involved in this. And had it
mm.
been any different, this would be different. So presumably it was good that it happened the way it happened.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah, it was good. It was good. And I'm somehow happy if I ever awaken, I will be a person who can offer to my daughter and to anyone I know, I can offer to help things if people need. I can give my daughter what I should have given her earlier, I can give her later.
I suspect that
She
you're
has
doing
enough.
that now already. When you awaken, the inclination to help the whole world will be there, almost for sure, but resist it. Don't do it. It rarely
Okay.
works out well. Yeah. Your ability to help other people is almost certainly tied to their desire to be helped. So if they don't
Mm,
ask for help,
of course.
don't offer.
Of course, I've learned that already. I
Yeah.
know that. I know.
Mm.
Even with her, even
Yes,
with her,
especially with our kids too, because they also need. How old is your daughter now?
18.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's a critical age for her. She is learning to be herself. She is learning who she
Yeah.
is, and she doesn't want interference from you, very likely, or at the most, very gentle something that you can offer. Yeah. Um, and most of what you will offer her, you will do by example. She will
Mm,
see you doing it and she'll go, maybe I'll do that too. You know, she'll see you being calm and she'll be calm. She'll see you and you will, of course, depending if she's living at home with you, you will say something and she will consider that. You know, if she
mm,
was a couple of years younger, everything you say will be the opposite of what she wants to do. But at 18, she's starting to think. Mark Twain said something beautiful, I thought was beautiful. He said, when I was 14, I think the age. When I was 14, I thought my father was an idiot. You know, when I got to be 20, I was amazed at how much he'd learned in the last 6 years.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's all perspective.
but she's away now. She's at the uni and she's not with us anymore, which is a bit too early, I think. But
Oh
she
well,
does
all
consider
parents think that. Yeah,
she's not very far away, and
yeah, yeah. And she's getting intensive alternative viewpoints from being away from you and being with other people and so on. Yeah, so she's in full on discovery of who she is at the moment.
mm,
Yeah, and if you've made life so good for her all her life, then you've probably deprived her of this. Who knows? Who knows? Yeah.
yeah, and how she also had this connection problems, being different, and
Yes.
everything we already said today.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Then she'll still, maybe this will still be something for her one day. Yeah.
Mm. Well, thanks. It wasn't in my cards that this will be the topic for today for me.
Yeah, these things have a life of their own, don't they? Who knows what's going to come up?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
But Stelios pulled me, and I still need a new job. Okay, that's for another time.
But yes,
Become a
Vince
pilot.
said, it will come. If we force it, it's even worse. So
Yeah, it's not because we're successful at forcing it, it's just because of all the tension and stress that comes along with trying to do that. Yeah. Yeah, things can only happen by invitation, no other way. Yeah, and they may not.
But I feel some kind of greed in. I feel greed to get it because I don't know, some kind of strong wish, strong pull towards it.
Hmm. And that's a huge thing. You know, that's so if somebody was to ask me, what is the most important characteristic that a seeker could have in order to wake up? My answer would be a burning desire, obsession about it. That's the biggest thing, I think. Yeah. And yet that's not what will achieve it. It will happen in the most mundane moment, probably. Making the bed, washing the dishes, whatever is when it'll happen. If it happens, you just go, look at that. Yeah. Wow. All of a sudden, yeah. Yeah.
and Bianca, I was very related to what you said about remembering. That was my thing for very long time. I was having many insights and I said, okay, this is it. And then I was just forgetting it. And I was saying, how can I forget it? So I haven't seen truly because I forget it. But then it's what Vince said. Remembering is just it's happening. You cannot force to have a memory.
Yep. And you can't go backwards either. So you can't undo what's done. So every experience that you have will change you. And I don't just mean change what's in your mind, it'll change you. You're the being, whatever that is, at all levels. And so along comes doubt. That's not going backwards. That's a new thing. And it will change always, because nothing stays the same. Everything's always changing.
Yeah.
Honey, it's really weird that that in order to have the best life, we have to do nothing at all. We don't earn it. We don't deserve it. It happens. And if we don't corrupt it by wanting to shift it and change it and manipulate it, then it just happens. You know, so our natural inclination to force things, to control things, is our biggest hurdle.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't. I wish I could serve it up to you on a plate and give it to you. You know, that moment of realizing that this is it. Whatever it is, this is it. It's the totality of everything. It's just, and it's so freeing. It's absolutely so freeing because there is nothing to do. It's, oh, the hairs on the back of my head are standing up just talking about it. Yeah. It's just the most wonderful thing. Yeah.
It somehow contradicts what I've said, because I was always waiting for invitation. But when I learned to force the kitchen door open, and it turned out it's fine.
Mm.
You know, sometimes it turns out that there was a person barricaded in this kitchen and wanting me to force it open.
Yeah, to help them escape, whatever. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I also remember how there was a point when I had no job, no assignment, and money was getting short, and yes, I was forced to look for something, and it was very unpleasant for me, but it was good because I found opportunities that, wow.
Mm.
You know, it's like I sent my CV, but it won't work. But it worked.
Mm.
But it's only because I was forced to.
Well, you could say life did it to you.
Well, I think it's that at this point I didn't know what I want to do, but I knew what I didn't want. I didn't want to have no money.
Mm. Mm. Mm.
Then
Yeah.
it was enough.
Mm. Okay, well, I'm thinking we'll wind up for the day. Yeah. I've got a plate of hospital food beside me. It's now cold, but so it's no less appetizing than what it was when it was hot, but there it is. Yeah. Yeah.
All the best ones.
Say again?
Thank you very much.
I said
Oh, yeah.
all the best.
Yes, you too. Yeah, that's no, it's only a follow-up thing for me, so it's no big deal. Yeah. Tomorrow I'll have an anesthetic and they'll shove a thing down my throat and have a look at what's going on in there, and that'll be it. Yeah. Yeah. No worries.
All right. Take care.
Okay,
Bye,
you
everyone.
too. All right.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Vince.
Bye, thanks.